Yes, people, in 2025, I am making a Newcastle video. A lot of you may not know me if you do come across this. And yes, I am a Manchester United fan. But hold on, I'm not here to be shameless. I'm actually here to provide some truths. I've been quite harsh about Newcastle, and I'm here to say, you know what? I've been totally wrong about them, especially recently. And maybe I haven't given them the benefit of the doubt. So, and you know what? Geordies are nice people. So I feel like I'd get some nice Geordies in the comments. But if you support Newcastle, I'm here to break down the game of what I saw of Newcastle. I'm gonna have like on this side here, you'll see in a second, what I thought of the game, and then we'll go through the first half, second half, so be it. Please smash the likes, subscribe if you're new. I feel like I'm going to start doing some Newcastle videos anyways, because you know what? I actually enjoy watching your team. How about that? I admit it. But yeah, let's get straight down into it anyways. This is what I thought. Pretty much this, what we learned. And you know what? No one's going to be talking about Newcastle as much as we spoke about with Nottingham Forest. Yes, they were the surprise package of this season. But if we're talking about form, I believe it's 5 wins in 5 Premier League games straight in a row, just as much as in form as Nottingham Forest. And yet they have to play a game, so they could lose, which I doubt. And then also, you got to think it's 6 wins in a row if you include the Carabao Cup as well. So for me, Newcastle are not exactly getting spoken about enough, and I think it's time. I think it's time to talk about them. Wicked team. All the injuries are pretty much finito, bar maybe a couple. We'll see what happens with Sven Botman. And then also, yeah, we'll go from there. And you know what? Eddie Howe's been under quite a lot of pressure, maybe from the fan base, maybe from rivals. Is he good enough? Is he not? There's still a lot of games to play. But for me, he's doing the job correct. And I feel like he's tweaked it a little bit. And I'm going to explain why further in the video. But let's get straight into the first half. Newcastle's press was super organized. And for me, it's the way Eddie Howe sets up this Newcastle team, especially when he goes into like the 4-5-1, sometimes even 4-4-2. And it looks like the other team has got a lot of the ball and dominating. But in certain moments, there's trigger presses as well. And you see Isak start. Bruno Guimaraes loves it. He can't stand it. And then there's Tonali as well. Joe Linnet. It's really hard to get past a Newcastle press because they're all in sync. And I thought, you know what? Something I believe that left Newcastle many weeks ago was the press wasn't as good, and maybe because that was of availability. But if you look against Manchester United, you look against Tottenham, especially in the first half, I'm going to call it the first half Newcastle press. Even Brentford. I know Brentford, that game there, I believe you lost that game. Was it 4-2? If you look at the first half, Newcastle were very much in the game. You could see that, especially in the first half, the press was there. And obviously the idea was to reserve energy in the second half. Again, we'll talk a little bit about that. And I thought Eddie Howe has got this press back again in the first half. I think it's a tactical thing, in my opinion. Let me know if I'm wrong, if you believe it, any of these points you disagree with, agree with, or even you might even have some of your own about some of the players. Second point, especially in the first half, again, Spurs could not handle the fullbacks. And I might go as far to say this might be the best pair of fullbacks in the Premier League. Bar maybe. See, you have to think about this. Ole Aina, Nico Williams is quite a good pairing at the moment. But when it comes to young upcoming English talent in Tino Livramento, defensively solid, sound going forward, Lewis Hall, wicked delivery. They just absolutely had a lot of joy and freedom, especially after maybe the 20th minute. They just kept bombing. And even in the second half, relentless energy from the fullbacks. And we all know about Spurs. When it does come down to their fullbacks and their wide areas, you can expose that. And I thought these two were just in sync again. And it was just Botman leading the line, Bruno Guimaraes. It was destruction for me in that first period. Credit to Tottenham in the second half. They came out firing. But again, I'm going to liken that to something else. Bruno Guimaraes, what a player. What a player. There was a couple long passes he were making through balls, and there was one in particular he put over the top, and I was just thinking, oh my word, this is the Bruno Guimaraes I remember seeing when he first joined Newcastle. This guy was absolutely bossing it, and this is the sort of player he is. You know, when you got Joe Linton around him, like, and then Tonali, I can't even work out who the DM needs these days. Is it Bruno Guimaraes going in the 6? Is it Tonali doing the 6? Because sometimes I see Tonali making a run. I see Bruno Guimaraes making runs. It's like I don't know, like some sort of pivot going on potentially. It looks like a 4-3-3, but they're all taking roles and turns. And even Joe Linton today, if you see him covering, they would again wicked trio of the midfield. And I thought Bruno Guimaraes is just, this is what separates him from the rest. Wicked player. And you know what? Wherever he goes or wherever he stays, you're gonna command a big fee for him. If he stays, it's because he believes in the project as well. And you know what? Onwards and upwards. So yeah. Tonali, I think I've given him a lot of stick. And you know what? This is why you give players that grace period to settle in the Premier League. And he's been away for a long time, so he didn't even get that chance to really settle. Obviously, he got banned. He's come back with a vengeance. He's really growing on me. I was talking with Daps. Daps, if you don't know him, he's the City fan that I live with. And it's like, you know what? In recent games, maybe even since the Italy game when he had against France, something just changed with him. He's just the play that we saw at AC Milan. He's just, again, relentless energy, pressing, he's passing, getting shots off. He's confident. He's really growing on me. And I think as a player, I think he's showing his qualities. And you know what? Newcastle fans have got a little bit of a gem there. Even if you want to call it a purple patch or you say he's just a solid player, however you want to label it with, he is absolutely balling out at this moment of time. And he won't get as much of the praise as of course, your Joe Linton's, because he might get a goal or something, or Bruno Guimaraes, as I highlighted. He was, for me, it was more, you know, like he was that one that, you know, might go under the radar, especially in this game, because he was definitely very, very key, especially in the second half. Eddie Howe, for me, managed the game very, very well. And as I said, I think I'd mentioned it a little bit earlier. In the second half, if anyone's noticed that Newcastle drop off that little bit, and it's not, I don't believe it's a coincidence anymore. You know, we talk about Eddie Howe's relentless pressing and the way he's high energy, especially in his first season, second season, even if you want to count that to be fair, his first full season, you know, a lot of energy was going, the legs were going. And if anyone's noticed, you've got to manage the games. And if anyone, again, anyone's noticed, as I was just trying to say, is in the second half, Man United, Brentford, I can name probably a few other games as well. If I go back to, I'm just having a little look, even Ipswich, even though it was a pretty much a rollover. Brentford in the second half of the Carabao Cup. Leicester City, that destruction there. In the second half, it's all like slow down, hold your horses, reserve yourself, wait for your moments, they will come. And in the second half, of course, it looked like Spurs were dominating, but for me, it was Newcastle allowing them. Like Man United, you know, I thought, yeah, but in the second half we had all the ball, but really and truly, Newcastle, you know, as much as it could backfire, it looked like it was allowed. And you know what? You have to credit Eddie Howe for that game management, or the game management even, because he brought on some good subs as well. And he defended really well. You know, we had a couple of scares, but that's gonna happen. But you know, at the end, you know, I thought, you know, Barnes could have got a goal potentially. You know, Gordon could have got another one in the second half. The goalkeeper, whoever that is, you know, deserves man of the match. Not for me, but hey ho. The other one was Sven Botman, top game after returning from a long injury, and he came off in the end. I think he was holding his calf. I'm pretty sure it was Botman. Correct me if I'm wrong, but for me, that's a top game, and this is what you call talent. Sven Botman's one of the top centre backs, and people forget that this guy is just got all the tools in his locker to be that top centre back as well. You know, today, you know, he handled Solanke really well. You know, he didn't have it. Obviously, his partner Fabian Schär, who was obviously suspended, but he led that line really well. He set the example, and I thought again he won't get highlighted as much, but that was crucial because Spurs were trying their hardest to get a goal. Brennan Johnson, you know, fizzing the ball, you know, Kulusevski on the drive, or Maddison shots. You know, he's just trying to be himself in areas where Solanke may be. Go see how he handled Solanke in the second half. He managed him really well. And I just feel like, you know what, bit of praise there. And, you know, you could praise other players because there's that one man, I forgot to even put his name on this whole sheet. I believe he's got 13 Premier League goals now. He's scoring in consecutive games. He just shows up when it matters. Alexander Isak is a phenom. He's a phenom. And I can't believe I forgot to put him even on this list. And you know what? Second half, he could have maybe done a little bit better. But you could see he was more reserved in his play. But in the first half, he got his goal when it was needed. You know, that back post, found it. There you go. Game solidified in the first half. Sorted. I don't know how many times we have to come on doing lives where, you know, we talk about Isak, but he's a wicked player. And at the end, I'm going to mention it because other fans, maybe even myself and that rivals, what was the referee doing? How much minutes do you have to provide for Tottenham? It's not the first time for Tottenham, by the way, because I remember me and Daps talking about it. How many times do we have to see that Tottenham get extra minutes? That was 12 to 13 minutes extra time, and I don't even know where the 10 came from. Anyways, that's for you lot to judge in a bit, and maybe we'll do another Newcastle video upcoming soon. Peace.